Amigos del Minnesota de hoy, les saluda Gustavo Mancilla. Esto es el Minnesota de hoy. Poco a poco todo vuelve a la normalidad. Casos de COVID se van disminuyendo y buenas noticias, algunas de ellas por parte del gobierno estatal, especialmente en materia económica. Hoy día se encuentra con nosotros la vicegobernadora del estado de Minnesota, la señora Peggy Flanagan, a quien damos la bienvenida. Hello, Peggy, how are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for having me, Gustavo. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. We know you are very busy, and please allow me to begin this conversation by thank you and congratulate you and all the women that work at the government of the state of Minnesota. Today is the International Women's Day.
Thank you very much. I have an incredible team of women who help support the governor and I every single day, and we are very lucky. So happy International Women's Day to you as well.
Feliz Día Internacional de la Mujer para todos ustedes que nos ven en el Minnesota de hoy. Thank you. With less cases and less fatalities, it seems that everything is going better in the health areas. Can you give us an overview on how do you see the situation right now?
So we are in a moment where I think people are starting to feel a bit of relief, and Omicron was very difficult, and our goal there was to make sure that we were keeping folks out of the hospital, reducing hospital capacity. We provided some additional support to our hospitals through additional staff. But we are now in a moment, I think, where our case rates are going way down. But I would just say, again, this is a moment where I don't want people to completely let their guard down. So, if you're not feeling well, if you can stay home from school or work to get tested. But of course, for every Minnesotan who is 5 and up, they can get vaccinated. And if you're due for that booster shot, I got mine about a month and a half ago, that you should do that too. We have these protections in place. That's how we're going to keep our case rates low. And I feel hopeful, but I'm still cautious because I'm a mom, and that's what we do.
Exactly. Thank you very much for that overview. And yes, last week I just got my booster as well. So
good.
Let's follow the recommendations. Sigamos las recomendaciones. Las vacunas todavía están disponibles. The Governor Walz and yourself started a tour, I believe last week. You guys are presenting and discussing the budget proposal for this year legislature. Can you please tell us a little bit about that budget?
So, we find ourselves right now in a moment where we have a significant budget surplus, and we think that, we need to make sure that we are getting short-term and long-term relief to Minnesotans. So the first thing that we've talked about is wanting to make sure that we get direct cash payments out to Minnesotans. So anyone who files income taxes, or if you have a ITIN, you qualify for this, and it would be $500 to individuals or $1,000 per couple. That's money that can help pay for car repairs, or your rent, 10 boxes of diapers, or groceries for the month. And so when we talk about these issues, like, this is real money for real people. So that's a short-term fix. And then long-term, we want to make sure that we are investing in children and families. So things like paid family and medical leave, earned sick and safe time, significant investments in childcare, preschool, and then things like housing and supporting our Minnesotans who may be experiencing homelessness as well, so that we're building for the long term, so that Minnesota is in a really strong position. And frankly, we're funding some of the things that have been underfunded or under-resourced for a very long time. So I'm proud of this budget that we put together, and just know that there's just, it's time to make these significant investments.
It looks like the budget proposal has gotten really good support from many state leaders.
Yes, we think that there are, we've had a lot of folks in the legislature, but also certainly coalitions and folks across the states, childcare workers, our healthcare professionals, our teachers, the people who've really been, on the front lines are the folks who are excited about this. And, those are the people that we are excited to serve. And it's just, people need to make sure that they're making their voices heard so we can get this done.
Very nice. So is the plan to support Minnesota children and family, and it encompasses a few different aspects of the benefits that we could get as a population in Minnesota. One of them is expanding access to childcare and pre-K. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Sure. So in this budget, we have proposed a historic $1.8 billion in early childhood and childcare. So some of these proposals in this particular package are things I've been working on my entire career. So making sure that we are fully funding and forecasting the child care assistance program. So what that means is that there's no waiting list anymore. If you qualify for child care assistance, you will receive child care assistance. Increasing the reimbursement rate to the 75th percentile for the child care assistance program, meaning that it's meeting the actual, closer to meeting the actual cost for child care providers. And then, our hope is also that helps increase wages. We know that many of the people who are childcare providers or who do this work are women, are people of color, are immigrants, and that this work needs to be, resourced appropriately. And then, additionally, the pieces that I'm excited about too are an expansion of our Homework Starts with Home program, which is providing rental assistance and stability for families who prenatal, right, to age 3, to make sure that families who are at risk of losing their housing or need housing can have access to it. So we're really trying to look at the whole child and the whole family as we are working towards these solutions for some of these issues in our community.
Very nice. You guys are also looking into reinforcing the medical or family leave benefits in the state.
That's right. So paid family and medical leave is something that happens, frankly, in a lot of other countries around the world, knowing that you shouldn't have to choose between the welcoming a new child into your family or caring for yourself or a sick family member and a paycheck. So that's something that, that is part of our proposal. It's really important. Along with that is earn sick and safe time so that, if you're sick, you don't have to go to work. And I think going through the last 2 years of this pandemic, it is pretty clear that this is needed. And if people are ill, they should be able to take that time off and not worry about, getting fired or going without that income.
An important topic nowadays is strengthening the schools and supporting teachers and families' education.
So we have significant investments in our K-12 education system to make sure that we've got mental health for our students, that we are investing in just the ability for each school, to be able to hire and retain more educators, the additional staff that they need. And one of the really key pieces that we've been excited about is universal meals. So making sure that all kids, regardless of their income, can get free breakfast and free lunch at school, no questions asked. And so, there's some kids who are on free and reduced price lunch. I was one of those kids, and there can be, a stigma attached to that. And we just want to make sure that we're just feeding kids. And we, they do better in school, they are healthier. It's a relief to a lot of families, and it's just something that we should be doing and get done.
Very good. What are some of the aspects of investing also on mental health, a topic that is also very current?
So we want to expand the ability of our schools to be able to provide mental health services, as well as meeting community members where they are at with those services. Our children have experienced, losses big and small throughout the pandemic. I know that the Latino community in particular that has been very hard hit by, the loss of moms and dads and aunts and uncles and grandparents. And so just knowing that there is a lot of trauma there, we have to have the same kind of, we need to make sure that we have a response that is meeting our children where they're at. So there are significant investments here to make sure that we're going through the schools, but they're also working with community organizations to meet those mental health needs of our children. Every kid has been impacted in some way, and we need to be able to provide that support and relief.
Is this something that you guys are starting to develop, or this is something that it has been done in the past, but not completely?
So I think it's a little bit of both. Every time, we have proposed a budget and gone through a legislative session, we've had some wins, right? We've had some victories. So the way that I think about our budget to move Minnesota forward is that it's like scaffolding. We are building each time and making things better and better. But we know that, again, we are still playing catch up to really meet the needs of our children and families across the state. We can do much better for our people and for our communities. And we think we needed a budget that was bold, that really meant this moment. When we have a $9 billion surplus, we need to reinvest those dollars in the people who need them most. And, that's what we're trying to do with our budget.
How does the state ended up with having a surplus? How did that happen?
Sure. So just to be honest, corporations have done very well during this time. And I think it feels a little disconnected, right? Because I know that there are a lot of families who are struggling right now. And to see this large surplus, it's because, these large companies have been doing quite well. And so we think that it's important to make sure that there is a little more balance in, how those dollars, are getting to folks. So this money is here, and it is, again, meant to make sure that middle-class Minnesotans, folks who have been working really hard, are the ones who, have access to these dollars and who benefit from this, and the alternative, frankly, from our friends on the other side of the aisle is that, they want to give tax breaks to the super wealthy and to the 1%. We think that this should be reinvested in communities who need it, who haven't done that well throughout the pandemic, and they deserve that investment.
Excellent. What is necessary to happen for this budget to be approved? What do you guys require or need from these different leaders that you are meeting with in the past days?
So, as we're traveling the state and having these conversations with community, it's been really helpful to hear just how people will be impacted by these investments. One of the pieces of our budget is our local jobs and projects plan, which is dollars that goes directly into communities to build infrastructure, the things that they need. The sort of signature piece of this for us is our equity and bonding dollars. So it's over $100 million to go directly to organizations that are run by and for communities of color, immigrant communities, the Black community, Native communities, to essentially meet the needs. We know how to spend these dollars best. And so there's things like V3 Sports in North Minneapolis, which will be a large Olympic training center right in the heart of North Minneapolis. Things like, the Native American Community Clinic is, something that we have funded in the past. So there are or local processing plants for some of our immigrant farmers who need places where they can process their poultry. So these are some of the things that we have heard are important to folks. Our proposals that we move forward have come directly from community. We hear that they need them, but now the next step is making sure that the legislature gets it across the finish line. So just would encourage, all of your viewers to reach out to their legislators to say, our expectation is that this money is reinvested in our people and community, and that they'll be watching as the legislature is going through this, through their session. It ends in May, so we still got some time to get this across the finish line.
So now that we're convinced of the work that you guys are doing as part of the government of Minnesota, who exactly we as people of Minnesota need to contact, need to convince, need to call to make sure this budget gets approved?
So you should reach out to your state representative and to your state senator. So everybody in the state is represented by a state rep and a state senator. So they need to hear from you. You can go on the Minnesota legislature website. It literally is pops right up, who represents me, and you just put in your address and you can find out exactly who to call. Of course, you can call me, you can call the governor and tell us, what you'd like to see there as well. But we've put out this proposal, and now it is the job of the legislature, to do the budgeting. They control the money, and so they need to hear from you about what is most important and the things that you'd like to see. And just as a former legislator, I used to be a state representative. I can tell you that hearing those personal stories, it really matters. And those are the things that stick with you. And when you're taking those votes and when you do that work, it is really the people who are behind these budget proposals or these laws that we put out that are the most important thing that we need to be thinking about when we're making these decisions. So just would encourage people to reach out.
This is great information, and for us, the population, I think it's always important to be informed. Esta es muy buena información, y para nosotros, quienes somos parte de la población, los beneficiarios de todos estos planes, creo que es muy bueno saber en detalle qué es lo que está sucediendo. Great information. Thank you very much, Ms. Peggy Flanagan, for create this awareness and to make sure that our community get to know about the plans of the government of Minnesota. Always good to talk with you guys, and always welcome here at minnesotadehoy.com. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Mitchell Hamline, la facultad de Derecho más grande de nuestra región, ha estado preparando abogados para ejercer la abogacía desde 1900. Somos los líderes en educación en leyes. Estudia a tiempo parcial y obtén tu JD desde tu ciudad de origen. Pasando tan solo unas semanas al año en el campus, puedes estudiar leyes en Mitchell Hamline y puedes hacerlo desde cualquier parte del mundo. Este programa de medio tiempo de 4 años es ideal para estudiantes que no viven cerca de una facultad de derecho o para quienes los compromisos o los viajes impiden estar en un lugar determinado en horarios regulares. También somos la Facultad de Derecho de Elección en Minnesota. Estudia a tiempo parcial o completo en nuestro campus de St. Paul, como lo han hecho muchos de los abogados de Minnesota. Más de 14,000 de ellos están trabajando, sirviendo y liderando en Minnesota. Mitchell Hamline es la Facultad de Derecho para estudiantes que planean ejercer en Minnesota. Nuestro plan de estudios y nuestra cultura están comprometidos con el éxito de los estudiantes. Fomentamos una cultura de participación y compromiso que responde a las necesidades de los estudiantes. Los estudiantes aprenden derecho a través de experiencias del mundo real en nuestro intensivo programa de clínicas, trabajando en pasantías y residencias, en cortes, oficinas de abogados y negocios. Creamos simulaciones intensivas y talleres de estudio de casos que muestran una visión total de un caso legal en poco tiempo. Contamos con personal docente y oficinas dedicadas al éxito de los estudiantes en lo académico, en su bienestar, alojamiento y desarrollo de carrera profesional, con la diversidad e inclusión que te ayudarán a encontrar tu lugar, conectándote con compañeros y grupos en una experiencia rigurosa basada en la práctica, para ayudarte a guiar tu camino hacia el desarrollo de una carrera. Ya sea que tomes clases a tiempo completo o parcial, en campus o parcialmente en línea, comenzarás a aprender el trabajo de un abogado al hacerlo. Te beneficiarás de programas de clase mundial y especialidades emergentes, y estarás listo para hacer una contribución inmediata en el derecho empresarial, en gobierno, en servicio comunitario o en cualquier campo que persigas.
Mi preocupación más grande sería si poner la vacuna para mis hijos va a dar problemas de fertilidad en el futuro.
Eso es una de las preguntas más comunes que he escuchado de las familias que yo cuido, en los grupos que estuvieron estudiando con la vacuna, pero se encontraron que recibieron la vacuna y quedaron embarazadas durante el tiempo que estuvieron estudiando.
Wow.
So, sabemos bien que entonces no tiene nada que ver con la fertilidad en estos grupos.